Talk about superstitions, and you will find 1,000 in your own home. From placing a lemon chilli at the doorstep to putting a devil's face at the rooftop, we adopt all kinds of totems in the name of keeping our houses safe from what could be a dark energy, an evil soul, or a notorious witch or Dayan. The first question that one has to deal with is that of existence of witches. Are there really such people, such women? In most of the cultures, there is certainly a strong belief in the existence of such women who practice a different form of worship labeled witchcraft.
Practically in every part of the country, every state, in some part or the other, such practices still on.
And thus, as per popular belief, gain certain powers to cause harm. But are there really such practices as gathering at night in the sacred grove where it is otherwise forbidden for women to enter? Usually on the night of a new moon, dancing, possibly naked, and uttering unknown chants. The word witch is a derogatory term used like the colloquial Hindi word Dayan. Both words refer to women.
डाइन प्रथा, जिसे अंग्रेजी में हम विचक्राफ्ट कहते हैं, मूलतः महिलाओं को आसक्त करने की प्रथा है। हम महिलाओं को ऐसी स्थिति में ला देते हैं कि उनकी किसी चीज़ पर अविश्वास करते हैं। हम मान लेते हैं कि किसी महिला ने नज़र लगाया है, किसी महिला ने जादू टोना किया है, उसने कोई साप दिया है, या उसके किसी भी काम में आगे बढ़ने के चलते एक दूसरे का नुकसान हुआ है। अर्थात जब हम एक महिला को इस रूप में देखते हैं कि उसके चलते दूसरे का हित हो रहा है, कोई बीमार हो रहा है, कोई मर जा रहा है, या किसी का काम अपूर्ण हो जा रहा है, या उसको नकारात्मक रूप में परिणत हो जा रहा है, तो मान लेते हैं कि वो महिला डाइन है।
It refers to a magician or sorcerer who casts spells and causes all kinds of problems like miscarriage, sickness in children, epidemics, infertility, and impotency. People feared their knowledge, but also used it against their enemies. The word witch may have its roots in pagan traditions and probably referred to women who practiced medicine and knew how to use herbs and minerals to heal or harm. They saw the forest as a goddess and surrendered to her mysterious cycles. They refused to be a part of the mainstream society and preferred living alone in communes, using men only as lovers, friends, and assistants, rejecting the institution of marriage and the confinement that came with it. Mainstream society feared but simultaneously respected and venerated these forest women. Who doesn't know that no less than an author of international repute, Shakespeare, also used witchcraft in his famous play Macbeth, depicting 3 witches. From the 15th to the 18th centuries, many Europeans developed a heightened concern with the phenomenon of witchcraft, seeing a new sect hostile to humanity. Thus, government and society organized hunts for these alleged witches. A accusing, torturing, and executing thousands of people. The intensity and viciousness of these hunts varied from place to place, as did their focus on particular targets such as women. Finally, a changed worldview, informed by the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment empowerment of women, brought an end to these hunts in Europe for threats that did not empirically exist. A fear which has spawned horror stories and literary genres. Bathed in folklores and myths, India has an unending list of witches. The word Dayan probably comes from the words like Dakini or Dankuni found in folk Hindu and Tantric Buddhist traditions, referring to wild goddesses associated with the forest, who are sexual and violent, in contrast to tamed, domesticated, gentle goddesses. There was always palpable tension between these women and mainstream society. With the rise of Christianity, these women were systematically massacred. Even today, in rural India, it is not uncommon to hear tales of women killed brutally after being accused of witchcraft. In Islamic communities, these women were associated with the dreaded jinns. In Victorian Europe, there were tales of the succumbi who seduced men and stripped them of their virility. Similar tales of Yakshinis are told in Kerala. Witchcraft is a part of the folklore of every culture. They might be as famous as the Salem witch hunt, or might be limited to the confines of a single family. Their stories are considered myth at several places, while various people claim to have lived through them. But the fact that witch hunting or witch burning has been making headlines of national and local newspapers of India for quite some time, even now and then, is not only disturbing but also alarming. The incidents are mirroring in many ways the great witch hunts of Europe and Massachusetts Bay's colonies centuries ago. The witch hunting related incidents have increased in recent times. Veiled behind the secrecy and tradition, hundreds of women in the countryside are tortured or killed after being accused of witchcraft. They are beheaded, drowned, lynched, and burnt alive or burnt to death.
To the National Crime Bureau statistics, there are about 175 cases registered in each year across India. So it seems to be a very prevalent sort of epidemic, and 50% of these cases are emerging in Jharkhand, followed by Haryana, and then other states like say Andhra Pradesh, Assam, Madhya Pradesh have sort of 3 or 4 reported instances. So one can only extrapolate from this that if 175 cases are being reported pan-India, there must be at least 10 times the number of these sort of cases actually occurring, you know.
Most cases are wrested from the states of Assam, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal and Chhattisgarh. Women are paraded naked, stripped, branded as witches, Dayans, assaulted and tortured. Many a times this happens in full public view with the full participation of community. According to a research conducted by Partners for Law in Development, witch hunting is rooted in patriarchy, financial disputes, superstition, and other personal and social conflicts. More often than not, these conflicts arise out of jealousy or tension between the victim and their relatives, friends, or acquaintances. The attacks were all unexpected and senseless, though each came with an explanation. One woman says she was dragged out of her house and brutalized because a buffalo in her village had stopped giving milk. Another suffered the same fate because a teenage girl in the village accused her of casting the evil eye. A third woman says her in-laws held her captive for weeks, denying her food and access to the family. There are countless stories like these in rural India, where thousands of women have faced violence or been killed after being declared witches. According to government figures, laws that forbid witch hunting are relatively new, and experts caution that many cases in rural areas go unreported to police.
यहाँ पे ऐसा है कि डाइन जिसको बोला जाता है वो अगर मर गया तो वहाँ पे तो आप लोग मर्डर सेक्शन आ जाता है वहाँ पे, तो उस पे तो पनिशमेंट अच्छी होती है। लेकिन अगर नहीं मरी वो फिर हमें मारपीट की सेक्शनें होती है या फिर डिफेमेशन की सेक्शनें होती है, लगाना पड़ता है, तो जो कि वो लॉ के हिसाब से ये सब अवेलेबल है।
Still, the National Criminal Record Bureau reports that more than 2,000 women were killed in India following allegations of witchcraft between 2005 and 2015. The belief in the practice of witchcraft has a deeper connection with Assam's spiritual history. As since 3000 BC, all diseases and mental disorders were treated as being caused by uncanny supernaturals, some of which are supposed to dwell everywhere nearby human habitat in the countryside. Even Mayong, known to be the land of witchery and natural paradise, is situated in Assam. Mayanganis believed to worship the planet of Maya and Vyadhi. It is also believed that planet bestowed its devotees the art of black magic and sorcery. Various folklores describe its connection with astrology and practice of witchcraft. Similarly, after centuries passed in rural Assam, the Ojha, a traditional medicine man, is revered for his skills at countering black magic. According to folklore, the medicine man learns his skills, which include identifying and curing a witch, but witches are said to be born with their powers. In patriarchal communities, this is a convenient distinction. It is rare to find a female Ojha. Interestingly, Assam also has cases of male witch hunt. Illiteracy is one of the most effective dynamic pressures which may have different root causes and potential to generate many unsafe conditions. Such unsafe conditions, combined with some external threats, mainly superstitions, which causes different problems to the rural community, especially Tea tribes and tribal community, in which the practice of witch hunt is prevalent.
Calling someone witch is the cruelty, and also in a way it is a kind of reinforcing her subordinate status in any society, trying to look at woman and seeing that she has some kind of evil force in her is really something which you characterize a woman by, good woman, bad woman, and somebody who has evil force. So in a way it's also putting her within the feminine framework at the bottom, because you are really calling her look, her presence, her talk, her ability to connect with people, everything is she will be able to destroy the other person. She brings bad luck to the village. She can curse someone, So this kind of making a person, a human being and a woman look like or present her like an evil force.
Illiteracy also halts the overall progress of the community. So practical education to all members of the vulnerable community, including women, is necessary for overall development of the community. Every year, many people die of malaria, diarrhea and jaundice, etc.
Basically, women who are in a village, and since I have gone to those areas and I have seen and I know that women who own some property, for example, and she became widow. So already a widow woman is blamed for has been held responsible in Indian society for losing the husband, or in some sense she has killed her husband, or she is responsible why her husband died. And then to top it all, she is personified as evil, somebody who really is become evil. Now why it is done? Because she may be owning a plot of land.
In the tribal people dominated areas, due to the extreme ignorance of the administration, these people lack proper education and is still today far from the glare of the media. As the people of this belt are unaware of the modern ways of health and hygiene, various diseases including tuberculosis, cancer, malaria, typhoid, jaundice, meningitis, etc. break out easily among them without their knowledge, and which is later linked in illogical way of treatment and finally leading to witchcraft and hunt.
ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में जहाँ की शिक्षा की बहुत ही कमी है, काफ़ी गरीबी है, वहाँ ऐसे कुछ लोग होते हैं जो अपने को ओझा गुनी कहते हैं। यदि कोई बीमार हो गया, बच्चा हो, बूढ़ा हो, जवान हो, तो वो लोग जाते हैं ओझा गुनी के पास, जबकि वास्तव में उन्हें जाना चाहिए चिकित्सक के पास, डॉक्टर के पास, लेकिन ओझा गुनी के पास जाते हैं। ओझा गुनी निश्चित रूप से अपनी कमाई करने के लिए किसी न किसी का नाम बताते हैं। ऐसे में वे किसी अमीर व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं बता सकते, किसी शिक्षित व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं बता सकते, किसी दबंग व्यक्ति का नाम नहीं बता सकते और किसी पुरुष का नाम नहीं बता सकते। तो नतीजा ये होता है कि इसमें 4-5 चीज़ें एक साथ गड्ढमड्ढ होती हैं। वो सबसे पहले किसी महिला का नाम लेते हैं जो बेसिकली विधवा होती है, जो बेसिकली वृद्ध होती है, प्रायः उसके कोई संतान नहीं होती है, जिसकी संपत्ति बहुत कम होती है और उसको देखभाल करने वाला उसके परिवार में कोई सदस्य नहीं होता है, उसकी गरीबी होती है। तो इन सब चीज़ों को मिला करके जो स्थिति बनती है, आर्थिक रूप से, सामाजिक रूप से, राजनैतिक रूप से, सांस्कृतिक रूप से जो कमज़ोर महिला होती है, उसे हम डाइन करार कर देते हैं।
These witch doctors are the doctors who are pretending to be curing someone who is a witch. You see, these doctors should be first people to be arrested and put behind the bar.
मीजिल्स हो, स्मॉल पॉक्स हो, कोई भी हो, तो माँ का देन मानकर लोग इसको विश्वास में लेता है। एक और अंधविश्वास है कि माँ को शीतला देवी मानते रहे, ये शीतला देवी रोग को शांत करेंगे। तो इन भावना को लेकर लोगों ने माला ले आते थे और वो माला जो रोगी हैं उनको पहना कर ये विश्वास रखता है कि अगर ये माला खुद लंबे हो जाएगा तो बीमार अपने आप टल जाएगा।
जो बीमारी डॉक्टर अच्छा नहीं कर सका है अभी तक, माँ का पानी लेने से बच्चा ठीक हो जाता है। खाली नियम निष्ठा पालन करें, इनका चरण का धुलाई किया हुआ पानी जो है सो ले जाता है, बच्चा को खिलाया जाता है, बदन में लगाया जाता है। और फॉक्स का बीमारी अभी तक एक कलयुग प्रमाण मैं दे रहा हूँ जो कि कलयुग में कोई आज तक हमको ऐसा कोई एक ठो नहीं मिला है व्यक्ति जो कि हम यहाँ से पानी ले गया हमको ठीक नहीं हुआ।
डॉक्टर के हम लोग आशा नहीं करते हैं, लड़का बच्चा के कुछ भी होते हैं हम लोग के शीतला माई के चरण में अर्पण करते हैं।
जितना मरीज़ आता है मेरा पास उनमें से अगर 10 आता है तो उनमें से करीब 7 मेरा आने से पहले उन लोग का कोई ओझा के पास आता है या कोई डॉक्टर जो गांव में होता है, तो उन लोग का अगर ये जिस दिन और कोई ऐसा है जिसका मीज़ल्स या चिकन पॉक्स हो रहा है, तब भी उन लोग मेरा पास आने से पहले उन लोग पहले भगवान की और पूजा देता है, पूजा कुछ ऐसा करता है। मीन्स जो ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम है, मीन्स धर्म का जो रिलीजियस जो कल्ट है उसको मान के उन लोग मेरे पास आते हैं। तो ये देख के मेरे को थोड़ा मैं घबरा गया था, क्योंकि जब हम लोग ट्रीटमेंट करना चाहता है मरीज को तो वो फ्रेश नहीं मिलता है।
Poverty and violence go hand in hand. It has been witnessed several times that extreme rainfall, drought, or flood leads to epidemic, which in turn lead to large increase in murder of witches, typically elderly women killed by relatives, but not other murders. The findings provide novel evidence on the role of income shocks in causing violent crime and religious violence in particular. And one such story is of Birubala Rabha. Her husband got diagnosed with throat cancer and eventually died. The locals thought it was the negative impact of her witchcraft practice that is making her family members suffer. Even in such moments of great despair, Birubala Rabha showed strong determination and boldly withstood extreme mental tortures.
1996 চনত মোৰ হাজবেণ্ডে যিটো অসুখ হ'ল কেঞ্চাৰ, সেই কেঞ্চাৰ হোৱাত বেলেগে এজনী মহিলাগৰাকীয়ে এটা ষড়যন্ত্ৰ ৰূপ লৈ মানে মোক ডাইনে সজাবলৈ খুজিছিলে।
ये जो बिलीफ है, इस बिलीफ चल रहा है कोई 1000 सालों से। इसको समाज से निकालने के लिए मेरे ख्याल से तगड़ा कदम उठाना पड़ेगा। जैसे हम लोग के डेवलपमेंट हो, समाज की उन्नयन हो, इस ढंग के चीज़ करने के साथ साथ भी सभी लोगों का मन में साइंटिफिक टेम्पर या विज्ञान मानसिकता ये थोड़ा ला देना चाहिए।
India has an 83% shortage of specialist medical professionals in community health centers, and lack of education are low in these areas. People's beliefs in ojhas are strong. The lack of such infrastructure is partly responsible for the myriad atrocities, including physical and psychological torture inflicted on vulnerable women. The punishment meted out ranges from death to being banished from their homes.
और उसका बॉडी में मैं देखा था कि बहुत इंज्योर्ड था, हाथ पैर सारा बदन में बहुत इंज्योर्ड था। तो मेरे को बहुत ख़राब लगा था। तो मेरे को मालूम हुआ था, बिरुबाला राभा से मेरे को मालूम हो गया कि वो उसको विच बना के, या असम में जो दाइनी कहता है, गांव से भागा दिया। उसके पहले उसको बहुत टॉर्चर किया। मैं बहुत कोशिश किया कि ये औरत को कैसे मैं एक नॉर्मल स्वाभाविक जीवन में कैसे लाऊं।
All this concludes that the only way to stop this evil is through socio-economic and infrastructural developments. But all is not lost as long as new breed of enlightened people come forward to end this madness. There is no specific and particular national level legislation that penalizes witch hunting, but different states have come up with different legislations to tackle the problem. Bihar was the first state in India to pass a law against witch hunting in the year 1999, which was named Prevention of Witch Practices Act. Jharkhand followed it and established Anti-Witchcraft Act in 2001. Chhattisgarh passed a bill in 2005. Later, in Rajasthan and Orissa, such bills were passed. On 8 May 2015, the Assam State Assembly unanimously passed Assam Witch Hunting Prohibition, Prevention and Protection Bill in a bid to eliminate rising cases of superstition leading to the murder of so-called witches. There is no specific law enacted in Maharashtra against witch hunting, and the sole reason behind it is opposition from some religious groups. In Odisha, a memorial for witch hunt was started. Odisha police have chosen this innovative way to sensitize people to shun the heinous practice. It is open to the public in the district headquarter town of Koinjhar as a symbolic statue in memory of all the innocents who were killed after being branded as witch.